Happy Juneteenth to everybody. What's going on? Let me know you're in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy. Let me know you're in the building. I want to say thanks to everybody who's been with me on the show so far. You're just having fun doing different things. So you know what? I want you to keep it going. Keep it going. So again, thank you. Thank you for being here. There's a lot of things that I really want to talk about today. A lot of things going on. And there's no time when you talk about all the things we have to discuss. We don't really have time. So I want to go straight into it. I'm getting my guest on. It's going to be Mr. Cause Canino is going to be on here. And you know what? It's going to be a time to talk about all the things that are happening to Black people, but also a conversation about, what, hey, what's up? Yes, Cause, Baba. Good to see you, man. So I'm going to bring him on right away. Cause, talk to me. Let me hear you. Let me bring you up. Let me hear you right away, man. No time. Boss, talk. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yes, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Good to see you, man. It's funny. I got to come on. I got to do every live show to see you and talk to you.
Like that. So, yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for everything you're doing. I think everything we're doing, everything kind of work together.
Yes.
Actually, so it's very important. So thanks.
Yeah, man. I definitely wanted to bring you on because I just thought about something on all of these things that we're doing. When it comes to this fight for equality, this fight for justice, this fight against racism and against discrimination, there is a segment of this conversation that I feel like it's an opportunity for us to explore, which is as African immigrants in this time and in this season, we have a slightly different perspective, maybe not so slight, in terms of how we see what's going on. And it occurs to me that we need a conversation within our community about what our role should be in a time like this, because I think most people get it. When there's discrimination against Black people, Black people are every Black person, everybody of color is in that box. But I think there's still some people who are having a separate conversation. It seems like they're talking about, well, what did so and so do to deserve this? Or maybe this person acted a certain way to be in this situation. And oh, I'm not like that, or we're not like that. And I see that sipping in, and I'm like, there has to be a way to explain to people that's not how this works. That's not how this works. It's got to be a different conversation. So talk to me about that from your perspective.
Yeah, I think that's thanks. I think that's a very important way to look at it. And a lot of my friends have been coming to me with that conversation also. That listen, I'm African immigrant. I came here on a plane. I don't act like that. When the police stop me, I don't address the police like that. I'm very calm and collective. I'm educated. I'm this and that, whatever the case is. I think, in our community, right? African, we're raised differently. And then African American, the culture is kind of different. But what it boils down to it, which is very important for us to know, is that it really doesn't matter. We've seen all the videos. We've seen all the clips, right? Whether you're calm and collective, extremely polite, it can still happen to you.
Wow.
It can still happen to you. And that's why you see the rallies, you see the protests. In fact, we're having one here also, like right after this, I'm going there straight. Basically, we started already at 5. So it's just, as Africans from back home, whatever, immigrant, we have to get that straight. We are in the same fight. And the fight that we're fighting here in America, guess what? We have to fight the same battle in our homeland.
Wow.
Very, very important. Do you know the impact of slavery, right? I mean, today is Juneteenth, right? We're celebrating that. The impact of slavery is actually worse in Nigeria, in Ghana, and all over Africa than it is even in America.
Well, talk to me.
They beat us physically. They do this, they do that. But back home, we're like, no, our president is Nigerian. Our governor is Nigerian. Our mayor is Nigerian. So why is it that we're still having all the problem? Why is it? It's the mentality. When I see, this brother, I don't know, we're not related, he's Igbo or he's Hausa, I'm Yoruba, whatever, but we're a family. When you start saying that, then you know that when they're having issues with the police, whether they're in Enugu or they're in Lagos or they're in New York or they're in Zambia, is the same problem. We have to address it. At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. So we have to fight them here, because the government, the people that are controlling us back home also, is the same problem. If they have the same understanding, a lot of them are still being enslaved mentally. The neocolonialism is still messing with them. Because that's why in our schools, we're not building our hospitals. When they get sick, they come to America. They go to England. Why?
Wow.
Why?
Wow.
It's the same problem. It's the same.
Well, let me come in on that, because you're connecting something very powerful. That this issue of oppression is what I would call it. It's something that spans, over geographical locations.
Yes.
So it's not just a question of I'm in America right now, and I'm experiencing this oppression in this form. The oppression continues in other forms, and the effects of it, and I like the way you brought it up, because we're talking about Juneteenth today, and happy Juneteenth to everybody. And one of the things that I was doing, because I wanted to know a little bit more about Juneteenth, and finding out that even though the Emancipation Proclamation had occurred in 1863,
yes,
it was 2 years later that the slaves in Texas, for instance, in the South, were given the opportunity to learn of their own emancipation.
Of course.
So the actual emancipation of the slaves, happened 2 years prior to the moment where those slaves in Texas, in Galveston, found out that they had been freed 2 years ago.
Of course.
So even though so on paper they were free, but in the real life they were in slavery. And now you're talking about, fast forward to our generation in Nigeria and Africa. There's some aspects of our nations that are tied to what we inherited in the colonial days, we still act as go ahead.
Look with our name, Nigeria. What does Nigeria mean in any language in Africa? Not even in Nigeria. What does it mean? The name itself. We don't even have our own name.
Wow.
Nigeria is a bigger area. So find ourselves the same way this the colonial man identified us. Ghana, they call Ghana Gold Coast. They say, because it's gold. Ivory Coast, they say because it's ivory. That's what they see there. So they gave us all these different names based on what they see us as, based on what they stealing and looting from the country. So we have a long way to go in Nigeria. In Nigeria, myself, if you spend any school in Nigeria, you can't speak your own language. They say it's vernacular. They will punish you for it. That's how deep slavery is in Africa. We're not even allowed to. We brag. Buhari or any Nigerian president will go to G summit. He will go to a European summit. He will be blowing grammar. He will be struggling to. The French president will come there and speak French. The German president will come there and speak German. The Russian that can speak better English than your President Trump, he will come there and speak Russian. Only an African president will go there and they will be blowing grammar.
Wow.
Speaking English, a language that belongs to you. So our issue in Africa is even more deeply rooted in colonialism and slavery than we're fighting right now in America. So it's the same fight.
Wow. So now let me fast forward. I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to communicate with you was I was checking your videos.
Yes.
And I saw you on Instagram. You were sharing some of the strongest videos I've seen about the real nature of the discrimination here. And the disparity in how people are treated. And I want to throw this to you. Some of the conversations I've been having online with people is the question of, in the case of Rayshard Brooks, I'm having this conversation with people who are explaining that Rayshard's case should be somehow dealt with in a separate manner from all the other cases. And people want to talk about, the fact that, he ran from the police and that he did this, he turned the taser around, he did that. And I've been trying to say, I can acknowledge that. I can acknowledge, what?
Yes.
The disclaimer is when you encounter law enforcement, especially if you're an African American, knowing what we know, try your best to be as compliant as practical.
Yes.
However, as I say that, I also know that you being compliant doesn't answer the question of whether or not you're going to survive that interaction.
Yes, it does not.
So it's a mixed feeling situation. On the one hand, yes, I agree. We should talk to ourselves, talk to our community. Let's make sure that when we come into these interactions, we behave the way we want. We want to just behave in a way that will make it more likely that we'll be treated, as a human being and with respect. But that particular way is not clear because, we've had people shot in every condition. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's look at the case for bringing it up. And I see on your flyer is in there, so we should talk about it, right? It's funny how people would say that, right? As a brother that knew he was drunk, he been drinking, he parked in the driving spot at Wendy's. He's in the car sleeping. He was driving, he was not hitting people here and there, whatever. Like we've seen a lot of white boys do when they're drunk on the
yeah.
He was in the car. They called the police. They came, woke him up. It took a while. They woke him up. Eventually, it's up. Almost for 30 minutes, he's in a conversation with the police officer.
Yeah.
The way it was.
Of course, come back again. I couldn't hear that last part. Say that again.
Okay. So what I was saying, like, when they woke him up.
Yeah. Oh wow, I'm losing your feed. All right, let me do this. I'm gonna bring him back. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. This is JFK, Ibukun. Listen, IBK, you're welcome. So this is what we're talking about with Rayshard Brooks. The conversation is that if he had been more compliant, would he have survived? And like no one can guarantee that. And unfortunately, that's thanks to the fact that everybody has been killed in every way. We've had, Breonna Taylor is one of those examples. She was sleeping in her bed. She was sleeping in her bed. You can't get more compliant than that. Unfortunately, you're talking about being compliant. Botham John was in his apartment. He was in his apartment. That you can't get more compliant than that. So we've seen. Philandro Castile was literally trying to explain to the officer that I have a firearm and I'm licensed for it and I'm carrying my license and I will show you my license, and he got shot. So this issue of, what should you do when you meet the police to avoid getting into a situation where you're getting killed? It's not clear. It's not clear. And I'll be the first to be, look, can I be honest? If I'm talking to my kid about encountering the police, definitely I'm telling my kid, comply as much as you can. Don't try to run. Don't try to do this. Yeah, my guest is back. Yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, like I'll bring you back to that question, cause it's like, so I'm gonna tell my kid, don't run. Obey the commands. Don't make any furtive movements. Those are kind of the statements you see when they attack people. They're like, oh, you made a furtive movement. You made a threatening movement. Don't do any of that as much as you can. Yes, sir. No, sir. Please, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I say this as a lawyer, knowing that as an American in this, you have the right to ask a police officer, why am I being arrested? Why am I being stopped? You have a right to say, I will not give you my ID if you don't tell me what I'm being pulled over for. Those are things that more or less you are given that right in the Constitution and under the umbrella of the judicial or the justice system. But unfortunately, this is what I tell my clients: your rights cannot be enforced for you unless you're alive or by you. So I say, do what you need to survive that moment. And then you get a lawyer and then you fight them in court. And maybe you're one of those people who gets a couple of $1,000s from the city, which is from taxpayer money anyway, but you got to survive there. So on the one hand, yes, be as compliant as you can. Don't fight, don't give the police any reason to be able to claim that you are threatening them. On the other hand, we need this fight for justice to make sure that the police understand that we are human beings. And, shooting someone in the back, shooting them, stepping on them, kneeling on them, all of that are not allowed. It's just, we should fight to the point where it is no longer allowed before we come to the conversation of how we behave when we meet them. Let's remove the element of fear, because one thing I would say is that, I don't know what was Mr. Brooks's mind, but I suspect that he was afraid. Having complied for the first 30, 35 minutes, and the other officer even said he was jovial. They were laughing, they were cutting jokes. But when he saw everything turn, when they tried to put the cuffs on him,
he's like,
we all have PTSD.
Why you arrested? I would have been scared. I would have run even before that time. You know,
Talk about that.
Talking to the police, begging, he even said to the cop, he said, listen, I'll leave my car here. My sister's house is walking distance. I can walk there. He was so calm. The way he was speaking, he could have been in a yoga class. I'm speaking like he was that calm and collected. You know, but when things change, the guy is saying, I might not make it home. He decided to go. And even that is still, they said the law, right? When your life is threatened, that's when you use force. Yes. Their life, tell me how the police officer's life was threatened. When someone is running from you and he does not have a gun, even the taser that he had pointed at the police, they hit him with that taser. It didn't have no impact on him. So you know the taser is nothing. Because at close range, they tased him. He didn't do it. So he was that almost 10 feet away from you. He pointed the taser at you, and then you decided to kill him. So let's talk about the people that are saying you should have acted differently. What about all the videos of all these white boys that even beat the police? I posted some of the videos on my page. Beat the police with the baton, chase the police, got inside the police car, drove the police car off. Another one, a man that he just killed a couple of people, a young white boy, killed a couple of people. What happened? The police came, they captured him alive. They managed to capture him alive to start with. And after this, they now took him to Burger King to go and eat first before they took him to the police station.
Wow.
In this same country, this America.
Wow.
If George Floyd or Rayshard Brooks run inside Best Buy or Target, carry TV on top edge, and start running away, they do not deserve to die the way they did.
Exactly.
Let it come to you, to your case as a lawyer, and fight for them. But don't kill them. All we're asking is treat them the same way you would treat these white boys that are acting crazy. All the way.
Yeah, like you said, don't kill them. I mean, don't kill us. And that's why, you know, I'll be honest with you, because it's like the people. So a lot of my people have come up and just, you know, giving me the understanding, like, look, you got to talk about people behaving better. And I said, I want to separate this moment from that conversation. I want to make a decision. Like right now, the conversation is don't kill us. Yes. You know, because it's a question of, as an attorney, I mean, I was a prosecutor. You know, my first job out of law school, I was in DA's office, Staten Island. You would see cases come in where you look at the police officer and you said, man, I'm just glad you showed restraint, man. I can't imagine what this kid or this guy did to you while you were trying to just talk to him. And it'd be a white dude, it'd be a white boy, a white girl, say something, spitting on the cops, doing all that stuff. You know, I'm gonna have your badge. They were getting away with stuff. And then some of the videos I saw on your page, I think the one the famous one is the one about some dude named Jerry, you know, who was beating the cops and they were trying to pull him out the car. Jerry should be on WWE. Jerry beat the cops with their own stick, and then you know, and Jerry ran away with the vehicle. I mean, Jerry is a superstar. You know, Jerry is a UFC fighter. You know, he beat the two of them. Now, in fairness to one of the police officers, the lady cop, she tried to punch him. She punched him. But my thing was, in that whole interaction, if that did not deserve somebody taking out a gun to subdue this guy that was about to club them to death. It got in the car. They didn't shoot at the car. They didn't shoot nothing. They were chasing the car like it was like one of those cartoons. That's you know what I mean? But when it comes to Rayshard, we got to shoot him because he's running away with a taser. And I told people this, like, before the DA came out to charge them. Now that's a different conversation because I know a lot of people want to talk about that, and like the charges, they're pretty heavy charges. And you know, there's every consideration that you know. I worked in this environment before. The district attorney is always, especially when you're up for re-election, they're always looking for the next big case to crack. It just happens, this is happening. But people talk about how the DA is overcharging them for effect, and I'm like, you say he's overcharging them, but you forget that somebody died. What kind of overcharging matches a dead man has been taken? I mean, let me tie this in for you in terms of this struggle we're having, these protests and this push. What do you think can come out of it that would make it more or less worth it?
So like so one of the things that I'm advising people to do is that what would be worth it. So what would be worth it is to be able to start changing some of the laws. You see, back then in America, our people here, they fought for integration because everything was segregated, right?
Right.
So to a sense, we were fighting for white people to like us, and that would never, right? Even after slavery is over, the slavery continued up until today, because the same crop plantations where the slaves used to be and work, that's exactly the same places where they built the prisons in America.
Wow.
So it continues. And let's talk about it. In American prison system, 13% of the US population is Black. Minority, right?
Yes.
But prison, the population over there is like 70 to 80% Black.
Wow. Yeah.
Brown. That is not by coincidence. So all these protests, what are we asking for? We're saying, let us tone down, let us get rid of, let us abolish systematic racism, institutionalized racism,
yes,
which is in the school system, in the banking system, in the housing system,
yes,
in the education system. We have all over places. So what are we going to benefit from this?
Yes.
When our children go to school, they can learn not just about Martin Luther King. They can learn about Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Huey P. Newton, the Black Panther Party. A lot of these, they don't teach them in school because they want us to say, when they slap us here, we turn the other cheek. That's what they want. Also,
unfortunately, we're running out of cheeks, though.
We're running out of cheeks. So I'm telling people, whatever community you find yourself, organize your friends, your family, your people there, and put down a list of demand in your community, and then go to the police system and say, okay, listen, this is what you guys charge us for. If this boy get caught with one bag of weed, you should not take 20 years. You should not lock him up for 20 years. It should be 6 months, because when a white boy gets caught with a bag of weed, they just slap him. They'll call his dad, Mr. James. Jerry's here. Come on, collect Jerry. Do the same for us. There's bad kids out there, Black kids. There's bad kids out there, white kids. All we're saying is that treat them equally in the eyes of the law. In education system, let us go into the schools that you allow your people to go into. Do not, name our kids at a very young age. Send them to juvenile detention, and then from juvenile detention, they're already bad kids.
Yeah. We got the school to prison pipeline.
School to prison is a process. So that's what we're asking for. So when I live here, I'm in the Baldwin community. We're organizing a protest right now as we speak, and we're demanding. We have a list. We're demanding from the Baldwin community. If you're in Staten Island, do the same. We have to attack it. This fight is going to be ongoing for at least the next 100 years. Today is June 10th. America has had more years with slaves than without slaves.
Wow.
It's only been 150 years that America has not had slaves.
Wow.
Slaves a lot longer. So there are people that are still alive that their father, not their grandfather, their father were slaves.
I love that you brought that up, because I'm going to let you go now so you can continue with the protest. And I like the fact, I was about to ask you what the protest you're going for is about. Now you just threw that in, and that's a very powerful. I'm getting something very strong for what you're saying. Like, the community by community fight must continue.
Absolutely.
So there's this general strike. We are all protesting, but there's a micro level approach. The school board, the local police department.
Go to the school board, the school district. Because my daughter's 10 years old, right? She came back one day and said, Daddy, how come we don't have any Black teachers? And she's 10. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I looked, I was like, this is not coincidence.
Yeah.
When you have a school right here in Long Island, a school with like up to like 40% Black children, and there's not a single Black teacher.
Wow.
is a problem. You know, so because they cannot relate, which is the same problem with the police. The police, they can't relate with us. You know, I posted a video of this police officer shooting basketball.
Yes.
The neighborhood.
I saw it. It was beautiful.
You need to do with Nigeria. If you get in Nigeria, before you get home, Mama Shade would have whooped you. Baba James would have whooped you.
Yeah.
When you get home and tell your daddy, say, Daddy, come here.
Correct beating.
Your dad will now continue. You know,
it's true. So it's a community.
We have a community. But over here, when the police see us, they don't know that, that's Mr. James' son now. What's wrong with you? They just see you as a criminal.
You know what? Let me just before I release you, man, wow, you touched on something that I've experienced and I didn't even know how relevant it's been. I was talking about when I was a prosecutor in Staten Island, I would have moments like that where I learned about how much of a community I was operating in. You know, you would have a matter or a case, and someone would come in and say, "Oh, by the way, they just arrested so and so's son. He's a good kid. He just run with the wrong crowd. You know, I hope they go easy on him." And in my mind, like, all right, that's a legitimate concern of somebody who's related to the family. But in my mind, you said he's a good kid, but he just shot somebody. I mean, that's a little more than running with the wrong crowd. He was the shooter. He was the mafia king. But it is that sense that, but because they know them, they know when you know the family, you have the option. I know your dad. You know what? I'm not gonna put you in jail right now. I know your dad will handle this. I'm gonna call your pops. You know, you know, it's possible with the proper application of community policing, and that's why I want to say, for all the shouts we're having with the police, we're more looking into reform and reallocation, because it's like we can use what we have to get what we want, but it's going to take a lot of work and effort. So, drop a last word for the people. I don't want you to miss this rally. Drop your last word for the people. I want to thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back for some other things. We didn't talk about music, Nigerian music, nothing. So we go.
Everybody, join the organization, join a movement, join a rally. Don't think about your impact is small. If it's as little as just making a phone call, calling your district to just say, listen, in this school, we want to implement the Black curriculum. So that's where it starts from a very young age. Most Black Americans, when you say Africa, they don't want to hear it just because of all the negative impact. They teach them from school.
Wow.
You have to change the narrative from a very young age. So whether Black, Chinese, Indians, there's a general level of understanding and education about who we are, our diversity. That is what makes it unique. Whether you're Igbo, you're Puerto Rican, you're Yoruba, you're Hausa, we're a human race, and we have to fight for one another. And when we finish fighting here, they go home.
Yo, bro, you're the best, man. Listen, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I'm gonna bring you on. Let me know how it goes with the rally, and I know we're going. I want to hook up and do more work, because I like where you at. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's my man, Cos Canino in the building, man. And I'll be talking to him later on. Yes. Oh wow, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being on. We just had that conversation. Let me know you're here, everybody. Thank you so much. IBK, I see you. Mujiraya, I see you. Cos Canino was talking to us about, the need to go to our communities, the school board, what your school district, fight there, fight in your local community. I'm learning from it too, that, there's a lot I need to do in my neighborhood too. I need to go out and do that. Some of us, we find ourselves in a community where maybe you have a heavy African-American or African, group in there. So it doesn't look like you need to fight, but you do. Yeah, shout out to my boy. Yes, Femi Olade. So we've been talking about this and the story of Rayshard. We're talking about Rayshard Brooks too as we celebrate Juneteenth. And I was bringing that point up. So the issue with Juneteenth is this. People had been freed in 1863, but they did not know till 1865. Because in the part of the South where they were, the slave owners were still resisting the change. The war was already over. Emancipation was already proclaimed. So these slaves were free, but they didn't know for 2 years. I don't know if y'all understand. I see my man Femi talk about say my beard is filling out nicely. Which cream are they use? Femi, you don't come. No, you accuse me that time. Talks I they use a hair dye. I never use hair dye, guy. I tell you, like just the avoidance of conflict. I don't fight. When I see people throwing blows, I run. So that has helped me prolong. I have longevity from that, you know. But listen, man. So yes. So we're talking about what's going on with Rayshard Brooks, and one of my friends told me today, said when I go on the show, I should tell people Rayshard Brooks should have complied better. He should not be running from the police. He should not be turning his taser back. So let me put that disclaimer at the top. Yes, when you encounter police, behave yourself as much as you can. I practice in criminal defense. I tell clients, potential clients, people who are worried. I tell them, you have rights in this country. You have the right against unlawful search and seizure. You have the right not to be arrested unless there's probable cause. Those are the rights you have. The Constitution guarantees those rights. Now here's the practicality of it. This is where the rubber meets the road. Many of those rights you are not able to assert on the spot when they are being violated. So in other words, if a police officer is arresting you right now, that is not so much the time to try to assert your rights, only because there's a power dynamic in that moment that does not favor you, especially if you're an African American, and that's what we're trying to change. It is within the same conversation I can tell you that there are a lot of police officers who have encountered me, who have been good to me, of different races. So we still come back to the conversation that is the systemic problem, because even those good police officers get punished when they try to stop the quote unquote the more unruly officers from doing the things that they're doing. They get punished. So if somebody is getting punished for stopping his partner from doing something horrible to a citizen, then you're gonna have more good cops being quiet. They're gonna retreat. They're not gonna say anything, because the backlash against the police officer who is trying to do the right thing and get his colleagues, oh, don't hit him, don't choke him, get off of him, don't do that, we don't need to do that, come on, we don't need to arrest him. If you're that police officer and you get targeted in the locker room for being a snitch, for being a rat, for betraying the blue wall, life is going to be horrible for you. That's if you don't get fired. There was a lady, Carriol, and she was fired and she lost her pension. What was her offense? She stopped another police officer from abusing and assaulting a citizen. The officer punched her in the face because she tried to stop him. And then she got in trouble back at the precinct. She was fired. She's fighting to get her pension back. So I'm not surprised that the good cops are quiet. The system is set up for the good cops to be quiet. So fast forward to Rayshard Brooks. And everybody's talking about, we should talk about how, well, his actions. Everybody always like to skip over some things. You skip over the fact that for the first 30 to 40 minutes, he was having a conversation with the police officers. As a matter of fact, one of the officers, not the one who shot him, he said that he was being nice. He was drunk, he was intoxicated, he was inebriated, but he was still jovial. He was nice. They were having a good conversation with him, and every indication is that everything was good until the other officer turned around. Officer Rolfe turned around and tried to arrest him. That's when everything flipped. So I want you to have that in mind before we talk about, Rayshard should have done this, should have done that, he should be more civil. He was civil. He was civil for the most of the interaction. And as the DA's indictment, the DA's announcement of the charges came out, it confirmed something that I was saying, which is that at the moment of arrest, they didn't tell him what he did. That was the resistance. That was where he resisted. They did not tell him what he was doing. You have to tell the person what they're being arrested for. The reason why he was surprised by the handcuff was because prior to that moment, the conversation was friendly. You are now listening to me. He didn't just all of a sudden decide to resist. That was not something that just happened out of the blue. The other officer who didn't shoot him was on CNN and he was on TV yesterday saying we had a good conversation for a while until it was time to arrest him. He said that, but that time to arrest him was the flipping point. And I told everybody this when I was posting, like, do you really blame any black man or black woman right now who doesn't want to be handcuffed? Do you really blame them? Why are we setting the whole nation on fire? Because it's not just about being handcuffed. It's not just about being arrested. The arrests themselves are leading to demise. They are leading to death. They are leading to fatality. So yeah, he was scared. Yeah, he didn't want to be arrested. Especially after he thought they had a good rapport. He was still drunk. He wasn't in control of his senses. Add all of that in before you say, why did he run? So yes, we should behave civilly. I've always said that police officers, I have friends who are police officers. I worked with police officers. Police officers, their names are John, Jack, Michael, Darren, Juwan. They're people. Leslie, I've known beautiful, wonderful police officers. And when they take off the uniform, they go home to their kids. Johnny Jr., they go home to their kids. And the wife, they kiss the wife at the door, they kiss the husband at the door. These are the police officers. And they go to the fridge and they get a beer, they get a drink. Like, yeah, what's for dinner? These are police officers. They're people like me and you. So I come from that understanding that when I talk about this situation, it's tough because I understand that there are police officers there who care about people like you and I care about them. But that will not stop us from talking about the trend and what's in the system. Again, the Rayshard Brooks story requires you to look deeper into why he ran. There's a part of the story that the DA said in his charging announcement that I really hope that, we're going to find out how verified it is. One of my good brothers, an attorney friend of mine, David, said, that he wasn't sure whether the DA was telling the truth when he said that they had noticed in the review of the evidence that Officer Rolfe kicked Rayshard Brooks on the floor after he had shot him while Rayshard was fighting for his life, and that he delayed in getting him help, medical help. As a matter of fact, I keep forgetting the name of the other officer. He also stepped on Rayshard's shoulder. Now, he said he didn't step on his shoulder, he stepped on his hand. That was the statement he gave. Either way, he stepped on it. He said he was trying to keep him from moving, after he was shot. Trust me, I believe that. And I could be wrong. If it comes out that the DA was lying, then I will apologize. But in that case, if the DA is lying, then, that's a whole new problem. Because people say that DA is overcharging them, is being aggressive because he's up for re-election. That's possible. That happens. That's exactly, some of the things that affects what happens in DA's offices. They're political offices. However, when he announced those things, I had already said that I suspected that some of those things will be coming out. I said the charges will be there because the police chief resigned immediately and they fired Officer Rolfe. Let me tell you something. Police departments don't do stuff like that unless they've seen something. They're like, oh yeah, this is bad. That's all I'm saying. Those were the things I was looking at. Police chief resigned right away and they fired the guy. They didn't put him on desk duty. They didn't suspend him with pay. They fired Officer Rolfe. Something happened. That was before the DA came in with the announcement of the charges. So somebody in that police department, some people realized this is a bad case. And so I was expecting when the charges came out that we would hear some of these things that made them panic. And the chief of police resigned and they fired Officer Rolfe. And so when the DA comes out and says they found that, it was an unlawful killing, when the autopsy comes out and it said it was a homicide, that he was shot twice in the back, when the charges also indicate that they delayed in calling an ambulance for him, when the charges also indicate that they kicked him while he was down and stepped on his shoulder and probably said one or two things, I haven't verified that. I believe that because that was my suspicion. Because none of these cases happen in a vacuum. There's a mentality behind it. There's an idea behind it. And my guest, Cos Canino, was just here, and he was telling us how he's shared and he's talked about videos where we've had white people fight the cops. I'm talking about fighting the police, with beating them with their own kid, and still they didn't shoot nobody. And that's what I'm saying. And so people prevailed on me, I should. People prevail on me that I should talk to people about how they should be more civil with we've been saying that though. I've had talks with groups of young children, of young people, African Americans. I've had the opportunity to speak to the youth in my church, I've always been telling them, you know, come on, man. Like when you get into a police officer situation, you know, just behave yourself, be compliant. I told them, put your hand on the steering wheel. Don't say anything disrespectful. Don't inflame the situation. I've given those talks. I've given those lectures. I've posted those things. But I've also said it's getting more and more difficult to say that without also adding to that. By the way, if you do all these things, it does not mean you will not get shot. I have to add that disclaimer now. When you meet the police, be of your best behavior. Don't inflame it, comply, answer their questions politely. I have to say that. But then I have to add a little graph to the end. This does not mean that this does not prevent injury or death to you from this interaction. But hopefully it gives you a better chance at surviving the interaction. I shouldn't have to say that. We shouldn't have to have that conversation. And that's why I hesitate to just keep to add on to that discussion of Rayshard and why did he run? Why did he turn the taser back? He was afraid. It's a simple answer. He was afraid and he had every reason to be afraid. And now we have the charging information from the DA giving us more information to help us understand why it's not just simply a question of why did he run. It's not simply a question of why did he run. And again, it brings us to this. I talked about this with my guest, as especially there's a community of us that we need to think about what our role is in this moment. My African immigrants, those of us who came in on a plane, those of us who grew up in Africa, we're never born here, but we came over here. That's one category, because I think our perspective is different sometimes, and it's what it puts us in a position sometimes where I feel like we how do I say this and not be offensive? Some of us talk like outsiders. Some of us address these things like outsiders. We think that the term African American may not apply to us. But I've said it many times. That's not wise. That's not supported by the facts. One of the first cases of unlawful police killings in this country that I experienced was Amadou Diallo. His African brother shot 41 times. He was trying to get his wallet out, mistaken identity. So that's the unfortunate thing, that when we talk about racial profiling and police brutality and racism, in many cases, there is no opportunity for you to explain that you are not from here. Before you say, "Oh God, Nigeria, pow, pow, pow," you can be shot. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know you're from Nigeria until after I shoot you. So the suggestion is, how about you and I fight to make sure that they don't shoot any black person? That way we increase our chances of not being shot. And even if you are safe, maybe there's something about you that makes you immune. Your kids, you're raising kids in this country. Your kids are half Nigerian, half American. And the American side is very strong because you've not taken them home. The American side of your children is very strong because you have not even gone to Lagos with them. So how about you protect the American side of the child, which is the one that is going to face discrimination, even if you don't think that the African side will face discrimination. Okay, just protect the American side, because your child is probably more American than Nigerian at this point. Let me present it like that in a selfish way. Maybe you get what I'm saying. It's our fight too. It's our fight also. As an African immigrant living in this country, raising your family here, working here, it is your fight as well. If not even more so. Because if racism is just allowed to flourish, if it pervades as it is fighting to do, it will not just affect, those you consider to be African Americans. You're an African in America yourself. There's no difference as far as racism is concerned. I mean, my goodness, racism, they attack people for speaking Spanish. And they understand that that's Spanish because they've heard it before. What do you think they will do to you when you're speaking your Yoruba language? Hey, they want you gone too. They want you gone as well. You see what I mean? President Bunker Boy has done so much to diminish African immigration, Nigerian immigration, that if nothing else, he has been very effective at damaging the immigration system, at least when it comes to Africans. And I know when it comes to a lot of other groups, he's been really good at that. He has attacked our immigration from the point of view of adjusting status here. He has attacked our immigration from the point of view of bringing in our family members. He has attacked our immigration, cutting off the visa lottery thing to Nigeria. He's done a pretty effective job of attacking our immigration. And one of the underlying concerns that people have pointed to as to why it might be like this is because, there's an acknowledgement, for instance, that Nigerian Americans, we're doing a lot of, we're succeeding here. We're succeeding, getting some good jobs. Our kids are getting some scholarships into some Ivy League schools from Ghana. In the last few years, it's almost every time, every graduation season, there's a story about an African kid who's getting into all 4 Ivy League schools, with full scholarship. So there are a lot of people who don't like that. And so if we don't join this fight against discrimination and racism, we are setting ourselves up. And if we think that we're escaping, our children are the ones who have to grow up into this environment. So Africans of all descent, please join the fight. It's our fight too. Do not stay on the sidelines. Do not look at this and say, oh, this is something for the African Americans to. Well, are you kidding me? I shouldn't have to be saying this, but I'm seeing more and more evidence that we're not all on that same page, and I want to appeal to us. It's our fight as well. The protests are our protests too. The online, conversation is ours too. And there's one thing I'm hoping that will come out of this. I'm hoping that, whatever divide there is between Africans, African immigrants and African Americans, I want that divide to disappear. Yes, Brother Mike, yeah. For African brothers and sisters, I want the divide between ourselves and our African American brothers and sisters, I want that gap to disappear. And this is a time that gap can disappear. Because I'm beginning to realize this is an opportunity for us to blend and to erase the divisions. Because we're all in this together. And the things that make us different, the experiences that, for instance, I have as someone who grew up for a large extent in Nigeria, and the experience that one of my brothers here, like Brother Naquan Braswell, one of my good friends, the experience that he's had growing up here, those experiences should be shared. And that's what I find. The more we know about each other's stories, the less at odds we are. If I know what my African American brothers and sisters have experienced in generation to generation up to them, then I'll be a little more humble about my understanding of their experience. I will find out that I am in no position to judge. Vice versa. I have interacted with a lot of my friends here who have learned a lot about my Nigerian experience, and it has helped them to get a better understanding of where I'm coming from as a Nigerian when we have debates and arguments, because we have that conversation. So we need to get to that point where this moment has to be able to unite us. This moment has to be able to bring us together, And as far as the Rayshard Brooks story, I've said it. I will give the disclaimer. Please, brothers and sisters, let's be civil to the police officers when we see them. Let's behave ourselves in the best possible way. Let's present ourselves in the best possible light. Let's be compliant. Like I said, you have rights indeed, but you are in a better position to fight for your rights if you're alive. You're in a stronger position to assert those rights if your interaction in the moment does not lead to your demise. So for the sake of you being able to be alive, to fight for your rights, you need to be in that moment compliant as possible. Just follow the law and do all the things you should do the right thing. be as polite as possible. Of course, give yourself a chance. Let it never be said about you that, oh, you didn't do what you could have, or you provoked the police officer. I pray none of us ever experience such a thing where we're dying at the hands of anyone right now. I just pray. But let's do the right thing. But I'll add this caveat to that. While I say be compliant, we should be better. We should be civil. Teach our children to be civil when they meet police officers. Treat police officers with respect. Yes. But I'll put a caveat at the bottom of it. That does not guarantee your safety when you interact with the police right now in this country. Our fight is so that sometime in the future, you being respectful to a police officer, you being compliant, you going along with the flow, will guarantee that you will also be treated with respect, that you will not be manhandled, that you will not be abused, that you will not be injured, that you will not be shot, that you will not be falsely accused of resisting arrest. Yes, my brother. You know what I mean? So that's due to two different sides. Rayshard Brooks, people say he shouldn't have run, he shouldn't have turned the taser back. But I would say they shouldn't have been killing black people because he was afraid. I don't know why people talk as if they don't get that. He was afraid. And that's why now we know more. The first 30 minutes, he was compliant, he was friendly. The officer said he was even joking with them. He was inebriated, he was intoxicated, he was drunk out of his mind, but he was still able to have a conversation with the cops that was cordial. Again, everything flipped when Officer Rolfe tried to handcuff him. That's when it flipped. And I'm not surprised if that triggered his fear. Because when they got the cuffs on you, whatever they want to do to you, they can. And he has no reason to be confident that they will treat him well after they cuff him. Yeah, Brother Michael said, what's the possible argument of the defendant? They're already putting it up. Don't forget, the police union is already saying that this charge against Officer Rolfe was ridiculous. You know about the police officers who called in sick and refused to report for duty. So hey, Bukun is here. Good to see you. I'm glad you are here, sis. Look, I'm happy now. So Michael, as you were saying, the defendant is the case for the defendant. Number one, they're going to try to make it seem as though, first of all, the charges are overly aggressive. That narrative is flowing. For me, I could be on either side of that issue. Again, a man is dead. So when you talk to me about overly aggressive charges, the most aggressive thing that's happened in this entire interaction is the death of Rayshard Brooks. That's aggressive. And if it's true that after he died, Officer Rolfe kicked him, then don't talk to me about what's aggressive. So I'm going to leave that aside. A prosecutor puts up cases and charges that he believes that he can push for, that he can prove. When it gets to the indictment, the grand jury will decide what charges will go through, and the case will continue. And if it gets to a trial, it will be determined whether or not it was a good idea to charge them this way at all. So, but don't tell me about that right now, because a man is dead. Now, the other thing, Brother Michael, in terms of what some of the defenses they might be trying to use, is that they're going to be focusing mainly on Rayshard Brooks's behavior. Hey, brother Shitu Ahmed, my London brother, what's going on? So good to see you, man. I love it. So that's from Nigeria, man. Brother, you haven't slept now. Wow. Yeah. So going back to the issue of what the defense could be coming up with in this case, they're going to focus, I believe, on the reactions of Rayshard Brooks. They're going to focus on the fact that he turned around with a taser and shot the taser at the police officer. They're going to focus on the fact that, the way he wrestled himself free from them made them afraid for their safety. So those are some of the things they're going to do. That's going to be the bulk of their defense. And in that sense, they will try to justify it. Let's say it's a justified shooting. Now, don't forget the standard for what is justified in this case. The standard that will be applied at trial, if it gets to a trial, is different from the regular standard when you're trying, a homicide case against a civilian. The officer's assessment of what is a threat to him is going to take center stage in this conversation. So Officer Rolfe is going to rely heavily on being able to being able to defend the accusations by elaborating on how threatened he felt by Mr. Rayshard Brooks' actions. So that's going to be like the foundation of their conversation. Now, the counter to that, I suspect, will be something that we've already seen in the arrest charges that was given out by the DA, is two things. The taser that was used was already used on Rayshard himself to no effect. Secondly, the tasers are calibrated that as after two uses, I believe, they become inactive. So even if you shoot it, it won't have any impact on the person you shoot it at. So the understanding is that the police officer who is using this taser, who's been trained in the use of the taser, already knows this, and as such has a sense that this taser is less of a deadly weapon in the hand of Rayshard Brooks running away than it was when he had it the first time and used it against Rayshard Brooks. So that's one of the ways to diffuse that idea that Rayshard Brooks turned around and shot a laser. The police officer knew that laser, and you know, he was able to still get up and shoot him after that. He was able to still shoot him, and we had no effects on Officer Rolfe. Officer Rolfe didn't fall down. Officer Rolfe he wasn't hit with any kind of laser shots, the taser shots that would make him incapacitated. Their argument is he could have been. But the counter argument is no, he couldn't, because after that taser has been fired twice, it loses its potency. That's some of the testimony that was taken from the company that made the taser. So we have those things in the arsenal of the prosecution. So that's why I say there's a lot to find out. But if I tend to believe right now some of the things that were said about what happened after he was shot. I believe that they didn't call the police or ambulance in time to help him, and I believe that the Officer Rolfe kicked him on the floor. One reason I believe that is because having worked in that environment, I know that sometimes after a chase, after a police officer chases down a suspect, or they shoot him down in this case, or they capacitate him there's the adrenaline that is built up in the process of the chase doesn't disappear. And I've seen many cases where the officer continues to act in a way that still shows that he's still agitated. So kicking him on the ground would be one of those reactions when you see him on the ground, like, how dare you try to escape, or how dare you try to taser me? That's my conjecture. That's my opinion. But I suspect, that's why I'm telling you the underlying reason why I suspect that, the officer really did kick him, even though I'm not just saying that, I'm saying it because the DA put it as part of their charging statement that the evidence they've reviewed shows that Officer Rolfe kicked Rayshard Brooks after he had been shot and did not call for help for him in time. And also that the other officer stepped on Rayshard Brooks' shoulder, even though that officer disputes and said he stepped on his hand to keep him from getting up. Shoulder or hand, all of that is part of the conversation. And all of that is the package why I say there's a cruelty in the system that you cannot deny. So whether you're sleeping in your bed, trying to show the officer your license for your gun, or whether you're running away from them, you're getting shot. And at the bottom of that is this sense that you are a danger no matter what you do. Hence the shooting of a fleeing man is not being talked about as if, why did he run? And why did he turn the taser back? Because he was afraid. Do you want to be arrested right now by a police officer? Do you want to be cuffed as a black man, a black woman? Will you feel safe being cuffed by police officers right now? So let's not ask that question as if we don't get it. That's all I'm trying to say. And again, the caveat, be of your best behavior when you're confronted by police. Give yourself a chance to survive. Let us all treat police officers with as much civility as we can muster, because like I said at the beginning, police officers' names, Mike, Dewan, Ryan, they're dudes, they're dudettes. They're men and women you meet at a barbecue. They come to your son's basketball game because their son is also on the team. These are who police officers are on a general basis. Some of them have this racism in them, and this hate in them, and this bitterness. And that is enhanced by the system in which they operate that seems to pat them on the back when they do stuff like that. That's what we're fighting. The good ones are being silenced. Like the example of Carriol, she was shot. She was fired. She was fired and she lost her pension because she pushed against a colleague of hers who was mistreating a suspect. That's what they're doing to good cops. They silence them. The other police officer who took a knee the other day, along with the protesters, he had to retract his support. He had to take his knee back up and say, no, me kneeling down to support the protesters was a big mistake. I don't believe in their protest. He had to do that. And I'm sure it's because when he got back to the locker room, they probably put a dead rat in his locker. So the good cops are being silenced. So that all we see are the bad cops. So don't blame us if we're looking at the entire police system as a bad cop system. You're silencing the good ones. We can't see them behind you. All we see are these ones who want to shoot, kneel on somebody's neck, yell at somebody because they're black. You know? You know what I mean? And oh, great question. My sister Ibuku says, how is a gunshot the appropriate response to a taser? And in the charging documents, they actually noted, and even the Officer Rolfe himself, so far in every statement, has not denied that he switched from taser mode to gun mode to respond to the taser attempt from Mr. Brooks. So he responded to the taser with the gun, even though he knew that taser was not effective anymore, because that's the training and that's how the tasers are designed. After a couple of shots, they're no longer useful. They calibrate it like that to reduce the amount of times an officer or anyone who has a taser can apply it to the same person, because then it can become lethal. So that's been designed into the taser, and the officer knows that. So when Rayshard turns around and turns the taser at him, he's well aware of what's dangerous and what's not, and his response is still to shoot him in the back. The autopsy confirmed that he shot him in the back, in case you dispute the video. So what we're talking about is, would he have done that if Rayshard wasn't black? And would we be here talking about whether or not Rayshard should just be in compliance? How do you stay compliant when you're afraid to die? That's my question. Ladies and gentlemen, it's one of those issues. And the other thing I want to leave with you, a big thank you to my guest, Cos Canino. He raised a very powerful point. He had to go for a rally that they said they were organizing in his own area, which is part of what he left us with, that we should all be part of the movement in our communities. Let's be part. Let's demand change in our schools. Let's demand change in our local councils. He says, let's start with that. And we also talked about the fact that for Africans in America, African immigrants, this is your fight too. This is your fight too. Then let there be no division between us and those African Americans, those who are born and raised here. There's no need for any division between us. This is all our fight. We are all in this together. If nothing else, those of us who came here from Nigeria, we're raising children here. It's their fight too, and we should be involved. All right. It's Juneteenth. And, oh, by the way, before I go, I wanted to drop a quick word. Like I said, there's this thing. I think I'll be ending my show with this. I call this the legal moment. And I'll probably get some graphics and try to make it look cool. But here's my legal moment. There's been a lot of celebration about the Supreme Court ruling on DACA, preserving it for now. And my point to that is, if you pop champagne for that, don't pour all the champagne. Put the cork back in halfway and keep it back where you keep it, because that's not the end of the story on this ruling. The court ruling more or less focuses on the way in which the Trump administration presented their case to repeal, to scrap DACA. So it's not a decision that's based on the actual merits of whether DACA will be sustained. So the DACA is still in the balance. The only thing the Supreme Court has done is to say that the way the Trump administration came about their decision to scrap DACA, that they were wrong, that they presented the application wrong. Now, you know that Donald Trump's administration is very, very famous for incompetence. So this ruling over DACA was really just an address of the incompetence of the Trump administration and how they presented their case. So DACA is not out of the woods yet. Just like the Muslim ban, and I remember telling a couple of my friends when the Muslim ban was struck down by a couple of our courts, I did say at the time that what they were striking down was the mode of presentation and not the actual ban. And of course, after the third try, the Trump administration was able to finally get some lawyers who could read English, and then they formulated it better, and they were able to pass it. So with DACA, we're not out of the woods. It's a great victory because it keeps them from doing it now in terms of destroying DACA, but it doesn't stop them from going back to the drawing board and trying to restart the engine. Now, what this does, because it's coming from the Supreme Court, is that it might put a damper on the attempt. So they might not really want to go back and do this right now. And of course, if Donald Trump doesn't get returned as president, then DACA stays. So one more incentive to consider for these elections. And again, I'm one of those who I cannot say definitively that Donald Trump will lose. I can't say that. I can't say that. America surprised me before. America can surprise me again. There are a lot of things pointing to the fact that the Trump presidency might end in November. I'm not willing to say that until I see it. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I can't celebrate that yet. The polls look good. The polls in the swing states, which I'm always worried about, your Michigan, your Pennsylvania, your Florida. I think Ohio now is looking like something. Iowa. I mean, states that were not even swing. Now the polls are looking decent in those states. That's what I'm looking at. The Electoral College. All right. So if Donald Trump cannot pull the same inside straights he pulled in those states, then it's going to be tough for Donald Trump to win re-election. So that's what I'm looking at. So that looks good too right now for those of us who are hoping that this Trump era will end. But I can't celebrate until the day after, because if Trump wins again, I want to be prepared not to be shocked. I want to have the kind of mind that I don't want to panic. I want to be able to know it was always a possibility while I'm rooting for him not to be reelected. So you see, I'm trying to nuance my position. All right. Cautious optimism. I'm cautiously optimistic. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, BC's here. That's what's up. Let me get my brother here. Femi said people need to go out and vote. If Trump wins, they'll make life even more hell for you. Go out and vote the Republicans out. Vote them out. Bernie or bust will be your doing as a black person. Femi, I'm begging my Bernie people. Bernie people, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Please forgive me and all of us for anything that offends you. Let's just get this one done first. Then we can go back to fighting as family members. Femi, you're a troublemaker. I'm not sharing your post again. You said it will be your doing. You're a troublemaker. You're looking for their trouble. You're looking for their trouble. BC is here. Yes. BC said, "Oh, incompetence is their mantra." Can I tell you something about? Because I'm getting better at finishing early, but at least I like my people being here. In the incompetence of Donald Trump, I'm realizing might be contagious. Hear me out. Donald Trump has always been ignorant. It's clear. Ignorance is his calling card. But what I always wondered is whether or not his ignorance can be covered up by the knowledge and the competence of those around him. And I think for a while we had a little bit of that when he had some people in his cabinet and in his administration who knew what they were doing, but he fired them. So now he's left with people who will say yes to whatever he says. And so that incompetence is beginning to spread, like water in a flood. So his people don't even know how to do stuff anymore. And I'm happy about that. I want their incompetence to increase. The only thing is, to the extent that their incompetence endangers us, I hope people are wiser than that and don't listen to them anymore. I hope you don't listen to them anymore. But they don't know how to do stuff, and that reflects what their leader is like. He doesn't know how to do stuff. There are things that Donald Trump wants to do that he could get away with, but he's so rubbish as a thinker that he always messes it up, for which I'm grateful personally, but about which I'm worried for the country, like how much damage he will do before he leaves. Don't forget, even if he loses in November, he doesn't have to leave till January. So, and I trust Donald Trump to destroy anything he can destroy before then. So we need to be really careful and prayerful. It's a rough time, So, but President Bunker Boy is doing his thing. He's having a rally. Kudos to him. And I want to see what will happen after that rally, because they are calling the bluff of COVID right now. And, maybe they're right. Maybe COVID will take a break from Tulsa, even though Tulsa cases are rising. And that's when they want to have their rally. You see what Florida is happening? What's happening in Florida now, Mr. I am Florida's Trump, Ron DeSantis. He gave a statement a couple of days ago saying that people should apologize to him for telling him that by reopening the way he was reopening, that COVID will ravage him. And he said, "Where is it? Where is it? It's been weeks since we reopened, and COVID hasn't really done anything." And today, that statement has not aged well. Florida is fast becoming, if it has not become, the new epicenter of COVID-19. Because Mr. DeSantis wanted to please President Bunker Boy at the expense of the safety and the health of his people. America, vote better. Vote better. Vote much better. We do not need these guys who don't know a thing about a thing in office. I'm not going to spend too much time today on President Bunker Boy, President Lysol, but so I'm gonna leave it at that. Once again, thank you so much. Please, I need a favor from everybody, if you can, just based off of this. Can you just go ahead and, if you get a chance, whenever you're on YouTube, check out my page, Joshua Corriday. Just type Joshua Corriday. You'll find my channel. Just subscribe. Click on the videos. I'm going to be transitioning to YouTube, but I don't want to lose my Facebook people because my Facebook people are awesome. But the same people on Facebook, I have to be able to convince them to come with me to YouTube. So until I see that they're ready to come, I'm going to stay here. Yes. I don't care about YouTube money. I want my people. Oh, you see, this is what happens. I try to close the show. DCOI, you see, I try to close the show, but I got people giving me like amazing conversations here. Mike, that I think Joe should pick a progressive mate. Mike, if they burn him well, let him not pick a progressive mate. Are you serious? Not only progressive. I don't know if you saw Amy Klobuchar today, pulled herself out of the running for his vice presidential running mate. And she advised him to basically pick a woman of color. At this point, it just makes sense. You got to recognize the moment and go with it. Joe should just pick a woman of color. Like you said, Mike, you're progressive. That's the only way this works. That's acknowledging a part of the Democratic base that is right now so pivotal. We need, and that's my point, we need everybody to win. We can't afford to lose anybody. I say we. I mean, I've never really called myself a Democrat for long because I don't trust politicians generally. Because I don't trust myself if I become a politician the way politics is being run now. I have ideas. I want to help my community. I want to help my nation. I want to do the right thing. But the question is, when you enter the world of politics, sometimes I feel like good people have to fight really hard to keep their good intentions. So that's something that if I ever want to get into politics, I want to figure that out first. That'll be like a quest. How do I enter politics and be able to maintain my desire to help my community and be steadfast on the things I promised, on the things I want to do? And when I know that I can do that, then maybe I'll look for an opportunity. But for now, as a student of politics, I just see there's so many things about it that make it difficult to do that. That's why I look at every politician and I say, I don't trust you as a politician. I do like A, B, C. I like your policies. Maybe I like some aspects of your character. I like your story and your background. I like your commitment to a certain cause. Those are the things I can like about a candidate that can lead me to say, this is the candidate for me. That's why my affiliation, I don't describe it as much as party affiliation, because the parties can always disappoint you, but your ideas and principles, for the most part, you can always work with that. The only thing is, in this moment, I don't have a choice because there's a threat right now bigger than everything. All the grammar I've just been blowing. This Trump guy is a threat to life itself on this planet. His impact is not even just here. Do you know that the Donald Trump of Brazil was behaving like this Donald Trump, and now Brazil is just burying bodies? That's the impact of this kind of mindset, this thinking, this myopic, ignorant, chauvinistic, prejudiced thinking. This mind, this brain, this old brain of destruction, of deceit. This is the effect of it, and that's why My issue with Donald Trump, like I said in my last video, I don't hate Donald Trump. You don't have to hate him to understand that he's horrible as president. That's not hate. I didn't hate him before he was president. I don't have to hate him when he leaves. I don't hate him now. Hate is too big of an emotion to expend on this, when the other thing I can say is he's just incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's selfish. He's arrogant. He's ignorant. He projects his ignorance on others. He has no empathy. These are the things that make me have a problem with Donald Trump. If I said the G7 haven't met in months in the middle of a pandemic, all because of the orange orangutan. That's what I'm talking about. His impact is not just within the country. America used to have a place in the world when it comes to, helping other nations and helping shape what the world looks like. For good or for bad, America had that influence. This man has just withdrawn America from every stage, every platform, so that he's forced every other nation in the world to begin to move ahead without America. Maybe that's good for the nations. I don't necessarily think so. Some of these things require everybody to work together. Whatever decision you make that doesn't include America, you're missing out on on a country that could be a great ally. But I don't blame them right now, because right now America is not behaving like anyone's ally, except Russia and maybe China. As we found out from John Bolton, he's out here begging the Chinese president to help him get reelected. My goodness, America. When did it come to this? When did it come to this? Your president is over here pleading with the Chinese president to help him get reelected. Come on, man. I know you're not perfect, America, but my goodness. Ugh, little dignity, please. Listen, man, I'm going to let y'all go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful time again. Shout out to my guest, Cos Canino. Check him out. You know him. He's the CEO of Under the Rock Media. He's been doing this thing since I got into this country, way before I got into this country. He's been doing his radio stuff, promoting African music, African culture, blasting Nigerian music all across this American streets until now, where everybody's now dancing to, Nigerian music. He's one of those pioneers, man. He's been pumping it out. He works with some of the top DJs. He DJs, so he's been involved, and he was talking some real stuff. He was spitting facts about how, first of all, the struggle for equality is connected to those of us who are directly from Africa, who came in on flights, as it is connected to those who were born and raised here. So there should be no division between us. The fight is our fight too. He also mentioned the fact that when we finish fighting here, while we're fighting here, we should not stop fighting for liberty for our people back home in Nigeria, in every area where they are, being oppressed. So he was talking some strong things. He also told us that, he's going for a rally that he helped organize in his community. To talk to the police department, they have a meeting with the police department and to work out some of these things. That's a beautiful initiative. So they're talking to their police department because they're part of the same community. And he suggests everyone should do that in their community too. Let's start in that, locality by locality kind of way. And then we get to a point where everyone begins to understand each other better. I love it. And that's why I'm resharing it with you guys now. But please, you can go back and watch this video from the beginning. I had a great time with him. But like I said, I'll try to shut it off earlier today so I can start having shorter clips so people don't get bored when they do their sharing parties. But once again, thank you, everybody, and have a good one. Again, YouTube, if you get a chance. I don't know if you saw my trailer. I'm building the trailer for the show, whatever. Yeah, you know what it is. Whatever, man. Shout out to y'all. Thank you for being on here. BC, always love you. Auntie Femi, you're just too much, man. Mike Dada. You know what I mean? Femi Flo from Nigeria. You never sleep, guy. I dey fear you. How you know they sleep? Guy, sleep now. But don't sleep before you watch the show. You're my guy. Yeah, so basically share. Let's share. Just get some love on it. And you know what? You and I, we run this, man. Whatever topics you're thinking. I know BC, you had that topic you sent to me. We're going to be pushing that soon. But some of it is what we discussed today. This fight is for us who came in on flights from Africa, as well as for those whose ancestors were brought in against their will on ships. This is all our fight. Equality and justice. We are all in this together. We're all in this together. So, peace out. Peace and love. Hope to see you guys next time. Holla at your boy, man. Let me know what's good. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what's good. Let me know what's working. Let me know how I can make it bigger. Anything you get me, anything you tell me will help. All right, man. It's your boy on JFK Live. Peace and love. Yes, sir. Thank you, Alagojo. Appreciate you. All right, please again, go and watch this. You can watch this, you can watch it over, and you can share it. Please, the YouTube page, if you get a chance, if you're on YouTube, think about me, Joshua Corday. Just go over there, subscribe to the channel. You know, it's been inactive for years. So now that I'm beginning to use it again, it's getting tough to kind of get back into it. But you guys will help me. All right. Love y'all. One. Bye.